The outward senses, Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 12. The meaning of senses. Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 12. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, Yahweh has made even both of them. The sense consciousness, a mental state formed from believing in and acting through the outward senses. It is the consciousness of sin, linked with emotions, the body, physical, and feelings, the mind, mental. The first letter of John, chapter 2 and verse 16. For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and the pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. The meaning of this is clear. The world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from the world. Decisions based on outward appearances, the senses produce conflicting thoughts. Operating upon the brain, physical, indwelling sin, excites the propensities, and these set the intellect, mental, and sentiments moral to work. Though propensities are blind, and so are the intellect and sentiments in a purely natural state. When therefore the latter operate under the sole impulses of the propensities, the understanding is darkened through ignorance because of the blindness of the heart. Romans chapter 8 and verse 7. The mind governed by the flesh is hostility to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. And verse 6. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. And again, when the spiritual mind is awakened, the outward senses or the carnal mind is extinguished. When we discard the exercises of our senses, and so, when the mind rises up again and awakens, the outward senses is put to an end. Therefore, the awakening of the outward senses or the carnal mind is the sleep of the spiritual mind or the Christ consciousness, and the awaking of the spiritual mind is the discharge of the outward senses from all occupation. Just as when the sun arises, the brightness of all the rest of the stars becomes invisible, but when the sun sets, they are seen, and so, like the sun, the spiritual mind or the Christ consciousness, when it is awakened, overshadows the outward senses, but when it goes to sleep, it permits them to shine. The four powers are the seven forms which are established as parts of our being. They represent the senses. The powers are a personification of human nature or human qualities. This is seen from the Testament of Reuben, chapter 2, concerning the seven spirits of error. The Testament of Reuben, chapter 2. Now hear me, my children, what things I saw concerning the seven spirits of error when I repented. For seven spirits are established against man, and they are the sources of the deeds of youth. And seven other spirits are given to man at creation, so that by them every human deed is done. The first is the spirit of life, with which man's whole being is created. The second is the spirit of sight, with which comes desire. The third is the spirit of hearing, with which comes instruction. The fourth is the spirit of smell, with which is given taste, for drawing air and breath. The fifth is the spirit of speech, with which comes knowledge. The sixth is the spirit of taste, for consuming food and drink. By it comes strength, because in food is the substance of strength. The seventh is the spirit of procreation and intercourse, with which comes sin through fondness for pleasure. chapter 3 of the Testament of Reuben, verse 2. With these spirits are mingled the spirits of error. First, the spirit of fornication resides in the nature and in the senses. The second, the spirit of instability in the stomach. The third, the spirit of fighting in the liver. The fourth is the spirit of flattery and trickery, in order that through excessive effort one might appear to be at the height of his power. The fifth is the spirit of pride, that one may be boastful and arrogant. The sixth is the spirit of lying. The seventh is the spirit of injustice, that a man may fulfill the desires of his heart, for injustice works together with the other spirits by the taking of their gifts.